So, if you see some stubble on my chin, I'm whole. Mind your business. I want to talk a little bit about racism. Since the Charlie Kirk situation happened, everybody all over the internet is talking about racism again. And last night I was watching this video. I don't know how I got to it, but it was some black people, academics. They were raising money for someone they were in community with who was looking at being evicted. They were a full-time student, but they were also caregivers to their parents, and so they wanted to make sure that, they weren't unhoused. They were facing eviction. And so they were raising the money, and I thought, this is beautiful. So, I'm watching, I'm engaged, and the background screen said, the backdrop said it's Charlie Kirk racist. So it was like this telethon vibe. So while they were sort of luring people onto the live to talk about their views on Charlie Kirk, was Charlie Kirk racist or not, they were raising money for their friend. And I noticed that on TikTok, there's a race bait thing happening. Like, there's a lot of that. Like, in order to engage people, there's a lot of race baiting. And so this generation is definitely built different. I don't have to prove myself to anyone. So when I say what I'm saying, I'm not one of those people that you could, you tap dancing for white people, you a coon. Because if you inspect my life, if you live around me, if you navigate society with me, you will see how I engage with all people, how I treat all people. I treat people how they treat me. What you get from me, like I'm not gonna say that when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I did not look at Caucasian people as a resource. I think that is how I was brought up to see them in this nation, because that's the only time we really was in community with them, when it was involving some type of resources, or when it was time to go to the doctor, or when it was time to face some sort of correction with the judicial system. And so my relationship with Caucasian people is healing, because I have become the narrator of my story. I'm no longer allowing other people to facilitate my narrative, because we got a lot of Freemasons and archetypes out here building a reality for us via these institutions. Which brings me back to the post last night. So, academics, if you are an academic, then you'll be the first to say that black people cannot be racist because our prejudices is not supported by these institutions. Now, mind you, again, as I said in countless videos, our prejudice is not supported by these institutions. But if we want to use that prejudice to weed out the undesirables in our community, then the institutions support us in being prejudiced against our own. Maybe not being prejudiced against white people, maybe not being prejudiced against Asian people or Latino people, but it definitely supports us in being prejudiced against our own. And so there's the flaw in that. Like, we'll say that we don't have any power in this country, but we do have power. We just don't have power over the ones who created this system via the Constitution, via those Caucasian men gathering in that room in 1777. We've been working towards that, but all of that is being undone now. But that's a whole nother video. I don't want to get off topic. So the question they were asking was Charlie Kirk racist? And when I came on the live, because my end goal is collective healing, that's what my work is about, that's what my platform is about, that's what my art is about. I center wholeness, I center black indigeneity, I center those amongst our ancestors who did not die for the right to vote, but they died because they did not want to participate in a system of white supremacy. They died because they did not want to participate in colonialism. They wanted to continue their good lives of farming, getting their food off of trees, some good clean water supply every day, and fishing out of the water, getting their food from the land, and being able to live off the land and being stewards of the land. So I resonate more with that voice. I resonate more with the voices of the nomadic and the unhoused. I resonate with the voices of those who have been displaced. I do not represent all of them, but that's who I resonate with. And when you have academic people who will say, oh, you're not making any sense, that's because you have been so indoctrinated that you have lost touch. You're out of touch. You've lost the plot. People were coming on the live last night and they were, from their understanding, talking about how, yeah, Charlie Kirk had choice words for all people. And I think it was more so because, more than being a racist, like, I do believe that there was racist tendencies. I think that it's hard for Caucasians not to be racist in a nation that was cultivated in racism, in a nation that was founded on racist values. Asking if a white person is racist in America is like asking me, is there cheese on this cheeseburger? It's a cheeseburger. I think that there's levels of racism. And when I said this, they didn't understand it. There's no such thing as levels to racism. Racism is nuanced. There's people who are brought up and taught to be racist, and they've never been exposed to authentic black people who are not trying to perform whiteness or not trying to fit into whiteness, who are not code switching, who are not trying to live up to the expectations of the founding fathers, who are not trying to live up to the expectations of society. Most time, white people are exposed to a certain caliber of blackness, and so anything that does not fall within the circumference of that type of blackness is deemed wicked, demonic, wrong, problematic, predator, because they have not had the opportunity to be in community and see that those type of black people are just human. They're good people. They just maneuver in a different way. They connect with life in a different way. They process information differently. And so there's those kind of racists, the ones who are just brought up, not exposed to black people, who are not college graduates, who are not, who have not been raised a certain way and raised in predominantly white environments and really honestly lean more into American values, white American values actually, because let's be clear, whiteness is not a race, it's a culture. Caucasian is the race, whiteness is a culture, and a lot of black people voted to have a seat at the table of white supremacy. For me, the problem with a lot of academics is not that you went to school and you learned and you researched, it's that a lot of times you think that you know everything or you know more than someone else because you have that background. And that is where we get this unhealthy form of gatekeeping. Because exactly what are you trying to hold in place? What are you trying to maintain? As a person who's lived in the South most of my life, I know that racism is nuanced. I know that there are racist people who want to see black people suffer, who want to see black people jailed, who want to see black people stay at a certain level, because definitely they need black and brown bodies to maintain this system. They need black and brown bodies to do essential work. They need black and brown bodies to be frontline workers, maids, butlers, caregivers, CNAs, like to be house builders, to be landscapers. Like they need black and brown bodies for manual labor, you know. And so there's that type of racism that wants black people present, but they want black people to know their place. And then there's the type of racism that you're just kind of like brought up feeling like you have privilege and feeling like you are superior because this is what you're taught through the textbooks. This is what you're taught through the institutions. This is what has been passed down generationally in your family. Now, that type of racism can be impacted if white people are in community with black people and they genuinely get to see black people in their authentic environment. They legitimately get to see black people who are not just out here full on shucking and jiving for a seat at the table of white supremacy. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do I think Charlie Kirk was in the nuanceness of racism? I would give Charlie Kirk about a 6.5, 7. Yeah, I would say Charlie was like a 6.5, 7. I wouldn't give him a 10 because, you know, that's more like a Hitler or a David Duke. But I definitely think he was leaning more towards, but he was also young. So we'll never know what Charlie Kirk would have been like had he lived to his 40s. And that's why Charlie Kirk was like one of those super religious, like Christian type people. And that's where the overlap comes in, and you see a lot of black people riding for him because he was defending heteronormity. He was defending the nuclear family. He was defending Puritan and conservative values. And so there's some overlap. And so we have to be able to look at racism and really, really unpack all of those working parts, because a lot of black people will sit up here and talk about white people being racist, but won't talk about the ways in which black people support racism by contributing all of this energy to the Christian religion, which was formatted in a way that really legit supports white supremacy. Like it's no matter where you want to spin it. And so there's a lot of working parts to racism. Racism is nuanced. It's not a one size fit all. There is levels to racism. And argue with your mammy, argue with your pappy, argue with somebody, but don't argue with me. And until we're ready to approach it in that way, we're really not solving anything. That's all I got for now. But I love y'all. Laylim Layler Nation. Purple ones. Rise.